All right. Well, let's try some of these. Now, a lot of y'all are going to know how to do your algebra already, especially when it's just velocity. Because with velocity, we already know when you have meters and you have seconds, to get meters per second, you just do meters divided by seconds. You might want to use the formula, though, if it's asking you for distance. It gives you the velocity and gives you the time and tells you, okay, how far did you go? But then that's a thing where if you go 3 meters per second for 1 second, you were going 3 meters each second, so you went 3 meters. But if they're bigger numbers, you might want to use the formula. I have no idea if everybody can see this. This camera has trouble with the brightness over here. So I'm going to do number 2 first. This is how I like to set, well, no. I'm basically doing this so that y'all can see how I like to set up the problems. Because I know that y'all can do 6 meters divided by 2 seconds is 3 meters per second. But I'm showing it to you so that you can know how I like to show my work. Normally, I make everybody show their work on their assignments, so I know if they got it wrong, why they got it wrong, and so I can see that they're practicing the right way to keep it organized. If you want to type out the work that you did in your answer, then you can, but that can be difficult, and it would probably be hard for me to understand since you're not drawing it. It's hard to say times and divided by, and you're gonna have to put all these parentheses and So it's okay to just put your answer right now. I may have a separate field for you to show your work later in some assignments, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. You can just put your answer there if that's what you want to do. So all right, let's start reading number 2 here. It says, if a nasty red dust Cheeto, you know those Cheetos that gets red stuff all over your hand? That's what I'm talking about. Flew 6 meters to the west, that's the distance. So distance is 6 meters. It flew 6 meters to the west. Okay, technically it's not a distance because it's got direction on it. That's displacement. We need to know the difference between displacement, which is a vector, and distance, which is a scalar. But we're not going to be distinguishing a whole lot when we're doing calculations and analysis of motion like we're doing. 6 meters to the west, that's our displacement. D equals 6 meters. Time is 2 seconds. 6 meters to the west in 2 seconds. And it asks, what was its velocity? So it's asked for velocity. I like to put v equals blank. You can show your work however you like if you're showing your work. I don't like to say v equals question mark. And I do think it's important to write down what it's asking for, and I like putting a blank because this way, when you rewrite the formula with your stuff plugged in, I'll say v equals, and now I don't write question mark equals, and when I get to the end, I don't think, wait, what was I solving for again? We're solving for v, it's right there. All right, so I'm rewriting it. Instead of distance, I've got 6 meters. I mean displacement. Whatever. And instead of time, I've got 2 seconds. And so this is going to be, 6 divided by 2. Now, another thing I like to do to stay organized when I'm doing this is I like to keep my equal signs lined up. If I had more steps than just divided 2 numbers, I would keep them lined up all the way down. Like that. It's just another way to stay organized. And I really recommend keeping all this organized if you're showing your work. When y'all are doing this, I'll give you scratch paper. You might want to use scratch paper at home. Because even when you're doing something real easy, in math class, because we're doing math right now, in math class, when you make those little mistakes, those are what gets you, right? Nobody knows what I'm talking about? Those little mistakes, those are what mess you up. If you stay organized and are careful, do things 1 step at a time, and don't skip any steps, always show your work, then it makes it less likely you'll make those mistakes. They'll happen, but hopefully less likely. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. And meters divided by seconds makes meters per second, and we're done. All right. And this is how I like to organize my stuff. It's how I recommend that you do it, no matter what you do. And it's important because, you know, we've only got 3 here. It's technically like you could just do it in your head. It's 6 divided by 2. But we will eventually have some of these that have 8 different variables in them. And you don't want to have to keep all those straight. It's M1, V1, M2, V2. And then on the other side, you have M1, V1, M2, V2 again. And it's hard to keep straight. It's good to write it out and just about the same way. I'm going to show you number 3 because that one's doing distance. So now that we know my method I like to use here, let's use that method to solve one of these for distance. So a train travels at a velocity of 80, v equals 80 meters per second. And we're east. It's not velocity if I don't say east, so I did good. East for 2,000 seconds. T equals 2,000 a second. And how far did it travel? Thanks. That's for distance. Asking how far, so that's a blank. All right. I'm going to sit down so I'm out of your way here. And feel free to stop me if you all have any questions. It might help the people there. They might have the same question. So my velocity is 80 meters per second equals, my distance is, we don't know. So I just write distance. And my time is 2,000 seconds. So the way that I just wrote it down, I wonder if they can see me. The way that I just wrote it down might be different from the way that you might do it. Because there's another way to do this. Instead of solving for the distance when the distance is up here, you could rearrange this formula and end up with D equals V times T if you do it algebraically. You're welcome to do that if you show your work that way, whichever way works for you. This is the way that I like to do it. It'll be fine. So doing it this way, I know a lot of y'all probably remember your algebra, but this is the way that I like to think of it. Keep my equal signs lined up here. I'm gonna give a little bit more room there, just in case. All right, equal signs lined up. I need to get this distance by itself. It says divided by 2,000 right now. The way I can get rid of that 2,000 is to do the opposite of what's being done to it. Since it says divided by 2,000, I'll multiply by 2,000. 2,000 seconds. And those will cancel. There's one on the bottom and one on the top. And now it just says distance. Is my equation true right now, though? No, why not?
You gotta multiply both sides.
Both sides, that's right. Because I can't go and multiply this side by 2,000, and then this side is 2,000 times less than that side, and say that they're equal. That's what that equal sign is for. I got to do the same thing to both sides. We got to treat both sides equally. It's 2020 now. There we go. It sounded so much better when I said it's 2019. 2020 doesn't have the same ring to it when I make the joke. All right, so those cancel. It says equals distance on that side. So we're about to get a good answer here because distance equals the answer once we get it. But 2,000 times 80, let's say 2 times 8 is 16. So and there's 3 zeros there and 1 0 there. So 16, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 160,000 meters. And another cool trick is this is 2,000 seconds up here. So that's seconds. This is per second. So this seconds is on top, and this seconds is on bottom. So we're left with just meters, and that's why we get meters there. It's another way for you to check your work to make sure you did it right. And If your units cancel and give you the right unit for what you're solving for, then you know you did it right. I'm going to do one more because we did one solving for velocity, we did one solving for distance, we'll do one solving for time. And I'm going to have to be real careful to space out my work here. What's kind of cool is if I get this video up, y'all can see this problem example I just did if you want to. Here we go. Scrolling down to find it. Time. Okay. A boat. We're on a boat now. Any questions about the way I'm doing this? Anybody else have a different way you do it that you want to share? Nothing? All right. Okay, number 5. A boat drives at 8 meters per second. That's the velocity. A. To the south. Good, that's a velocity. I said south. For 24,000 meters. That's displacement, because we know it's to the south. 24,000 meters. How many seconds did that take? That's asking for time. Second. All right. So velocity is 8. Let me go way up here so I make sure I give myself enough room. Distance is 24,000. Meters. And time is what we're looking for. Looking for time down there. All right, so we've got to, whenever something's on the bottom like this, you should not try to solve for it down here because it's going to be confusing. Like one way to solve this here is I could do what I did before and try to get t by itself and get rid of this 24,000. And if I say divided by 24,000, since this one's on top and I want to put 24,000 on bottom, so they cancel, and do that to this side, I still have 8 divided by 24,000 equals 1 over t. And then I could flip both sides, but when you have something on the bottom here and you end up having to take a reciprocal, that makes it more complicated than I like. So when you're solving for something on the bottom, the first thing to do is move this t over here. So first we make it cancel on this side. It says divided by t. So I will multiply both sides by t. Multiply by t. This one's on top, this one's on bottom, so it just says equals 24,000 meters over there. And then t times 8, so I can say, due to the commutative property of multiplication, where t times 8 is the same as 8 times t, I'm going to put it 8 times t now. And now it just looks better to me. You know, like you have, 2x instead of x2, right? Oh, bless you, just in case.
Thank you.
Right, so now it's a little more clear what to do. We still need to get t by itself. I want it to say t equals, right now it says 8 times t. So to make that cancel, I'm going to get a little more room, just in case. So make that cancel, since it says 8 times t, I need to do the opposite and do divided by, what? We should say t times 8. We need to do the opposite and say t divided by 8. All right. So now we got this on top and this on bottom, so it just says t equals, and 24,000 divided by 8 is a 3,000, right? 8 times 3 is 24, so 8 times 3,000 is 24,000. And we can do the same thing with the units. So we got an m on top and an m on bottom. So now we just got seconds. And there we go, t equals 3,000 seconds. We kind of did a lot of stuff up here, and there's a little bit of a simpler way to do it. that I'll show you over here. And just in case it's too far from the camera, I'm going to move this over a little bit. Anybody know the shortcut for this? Raise your hand if you know the shortcut. Oh, it's so white. All right, well, there's a shortcut for this. It's okay. Let's write our stuff out again. If we've got 8 equals 24,000 divided by t, if and only if you're solving for something in the denominator, sorry, camera, take 2. In the denominator, if you're solving for something in the denominator, and there's only one thing there, you can't, or you shouldn't do this if it's like, if there's 2 things. If there's this times t, if there's something times t down here, don't try to do this. If there's 2 things over here, something times 8, don't try to do this. But a good shortcut to use, whenever you're solving for something down there, and there's just one thing here and one thing here, you can switch these, and it's easy that way. So t equals 24,000 divided by 8. And that's exactly what we got to by doing all this mess up here. But we didn't have to make a mess because we used a shortcut. It's a good one to use if you can keep that straight. I'm not putting this on the video. I'm going to cut this off because people get confused this way sometimes. I only tell this to the PAP classes. So it's totally useful if you can remember it's just when you're solving for something in the denominator and when there's only one thing here and one thing here. Ready for your velocity practice? All right. Try to go do that Wednesday velocity practice. Maybe I can get this video over there.